Welcome to Do You Even Let's. Welcome back.
Should we talk about, wait, is it Sonny or is it Sunny?
Sunny, like Sunny Jim.
Were you guys surprised by your scores? I think I need to talk more is the moral of the story.
Yeah, so one of our listeners, Sunny, ran a sort of vibe code session on one of our podcast episodes around word count, interruptions, unique words. And we all had a guess who was who. And it turns out Benny doesn't speak as much and I don't speak uniquely. I think we're two of the finance.
But how good was the pseudo psychoanalyzing profiles as well? With, for me, which it described as the marathon narrator, risk of steamrolling others, may benefit from conscious turn handling.
My advice was...
Yours articulation clarity could improve. Quickest to speak, but not very articulate.
Keeps the flow going.
Afraid of awkward pauses.
Yeah, they're my nightmare.
Benny was called the pensive minimalist, speaks least in absolute terms, but with the richest lexical diversity and calm pacing. So it's not bad, right? Like, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'm going to put this on my CV. The pensive minimalist? It's going to be my new
pensive
title.
Minimalist. Dude, you should have called your Substack that.
Yeah. Seriously. Then I could get away with only posting once every 2 months.
Road to Sharia was just yelling out to you too much. You couldn't ignore it.
I couldn't ignore it. Once it was in my head, it was like a meme. It couldn't get out of there.
Where's Sharia?
Yeah.
Wait, it's not called the Road to Sharia, is it?
Well, stop. Not Sharia law.
No.
Might as well be. It's so badly named. It might as well be, mate.
This is your keep Britain for the British.
Road to Sharia. Oh man.
What is it? Is Shiri the place in? I mean, I don't even know where that place is. I've read it. It's in the Odyssey, right?
Dude, you didn't Anki this shit. Come on,
dude.
You've changed.
Benny's blog telling me about it.
Yeah, no, it's Steps to Phaeacia. I went with Phaeacia instead of Sherry because Rich said it sounded like some form of irritable bowel syndrome, and I
don't know if
I figure I better take that sort of feedback seriously.
It sounds like
it's much better.
It's like, was it you're losing your hair slowly, or your hair's falling out?
Oh yeah, like G.I. Jane joke about Jada Pinkett Smith.
I had that when I was younger. Actually, my hair was falling out when I was young.
Damn.
Were you nervously picking it?
I was. I would pull out chunks. It was crazy.
Oh, man.
I had like a massive bald spot in the back of my head.
It's looking lush now, man.
Yeah, had it. It was great hairline.
Got a good guy in Turkey.
I went to exactly. Yeah. Paid the Turks a visit.
That's where Phaeacia is. Oh.
Yeah, that's what gave me the name. All right. Should we dive in? Any more nonsense administration that we need to cover?
I can't wait to talk about this book.
I know. This book is awesome. This book was made for us.
Just quickly, Sonny, that analysis was completely wrong. It didn't capture me at all, by the way. If you was wondering. It's AI just hallucinating stuff. Was my view.
LLMs clearly are not on the path to AGI.
Yeah, exactly.
Cam's going to be speaking very slowly with very extravagant words today.
What does that mean?
Guilelessly. All right. So the boys today are tackling parts 1 and 2 of Anna Karenina. So this takes us up to page roughly 250 out of the 800 pages. There are 8 parts in total. So this is just the first 2 parts. I don't know about you guys. I'm really liking the reading experience. I feel like this was a book that was sort of made for us because there's a lot going on sociologically. And there's a little bit of romance thrown in, you know. I'm
in love.
We're some feely fellas. Yeah,
I'm in love with at least 3 of the characters in this book. I got my own little love triangle going on.
Nice.
Maybe 4 if you count Frou Frou.
And you're falling in love as quickly as a Tolstoy character.
Yeah.
Page 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just dive in. The very first line is the famous first line in literature. Obviously, it reads, "Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way."
Banger.
Do we agree or disagree with this?
I was
that's
hooked
the most.
from that line.
Do you agree, Rich? Do you think that's actually true?
I want to take it in a different direction. That's not about families, but I think it's like you go first.
Well, I think obviously it's not literally true. I don't think. I think it'll be interesting if Tolstoy's happy families differ or not. I mean, we haven't really had an instance of a happy family yet. We've had 2 or 3 unhappy ones. It's an interesting line. I think there's a running joke in philosophy departments that the opening line's been quoted so much by philosophers that you can question how much a philosopher's knowledge of Tolstoy extends beyond it. Because everyone just references that opening line.
Yeah, I remember Peter Thiel's book starts with this line. Everyone knows this line. It's so good. I think it captures something, like, even if it's not literally true, it captures like a deep, important regularity about all of life, which is that there's many more ways for things to be disordered and fucked up than there are for them to be working and functioning the way that they're meant to. And this is like the central insight of like statistical mechanics and, you know, entropy and things like that. It's crazy. This is I actually looked this up. It's Boltzmann is a contemporary of Tolstoy, but there's no way Tolstoy would have known about statistical mechanics or entropy. But it's a very neat observation. I don't know if you guys remember, but we talked about this when we were arguing about whether IQ is normally distributed or whether the right tail is truncated. So like there's a long left tail. There's all kinds of ways that you can degrade performance of someone's brain, but there's not the equivalent number of ways that you can improve performance of someone's brain. There's just like a way that a system can be functioning. And then there's so many, whenever you introduce noise or like perturbations or whatever, they're almost always going to be detrimental. They're very rarely going to improve it. That's the central insight. And that's like, it's across so many different fields, like epistemology as well. It's relevant to our little niche interests of what makes a theory good or bad. Like there's so many more ways for it to be wrong than for it to be right. So yeah, anyway, I love it. It's like, it's an absolute banger, iconic opening line, and it has like this very deep wisdom, which is relevant to like any kind of system, whether or not it's true of families.
It's almost like the base case or the status quo for Tolstoy is perhaps, you know, this happy family that there's kind of nothing wrong with, and perhaps we don't scrutinize very critically or very closely. You know, of course they'll have slight differences, but nothing to kind of focus on too much. But as Rich said, the sort of entropy inside, there's just so many different ways for that to go wrong, and those are often interesting ones. And you can take the story. I mean, we've done 2 parts, and we've already got 3 or 4 different quote unhappy relationships or families so far. So you're saying when one of us writes our pop psych book or pop statistics book about second law of thermodynamics, this entropy, we can start it with that. We can put this as the opening line at the top of the chapter.
Wait,
Totally.
Peter Thiel's book really starts with this line?
Well, he actually inverts it. He quotes the line and then says, in business, it's the opposite is true, or something like that, where he says like every successful business needs to be a monopoly of one and completely unlike other businesses. But even then, you could invert his inversion and say like the common factor of all successful business. No, that's okay. That's a stretch.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I think this is probably true from the perspective of an outsider looking onto a family. And then it seems like if there's a happy family, they all seem similar and that they've all sort of worked out their kinks. And so from the outside, you know, it seems like they've all just sorted themselves out and they're sort of boring in their happiness. Whereas if you have a family that's constantly fighting, they're always fighting about something else. There's, you know, someone else has caused a ruckus or whatever. And so from the outside, there's much more variance going on if you're dealing with an annoying family. But I think it's not true from inside the family's perspective, in the sense that people are all different and, you know, working out a relationship with one person looks differently than working out a relationship with someone else. There's going to be just different issues in the relationship that you're going to have to, different sorts of problems you're going to have to solve.
I mean, it's also just not true into family, like comparing families with other families. Like, I'm interested whether we're going to get happy families or not in this book. and whether they follow a certain archetype that maybe is a Tolstoyan archetype. It seems to me that maybe Tolstoy is more interested in the emphasis on how things can go wrong, or even more deeply put, like on evil versus good. The book's probably more going to be about unhappy families. I mean, it starts with an unhappy family right from the get-go, and that's going to be the focus. And yeah, maybe good is the status quo, and the entropy causes us to push away from it. That's good.
Okay, so let's just dive in to part 1. Maybe just as very
we're
brief
not
background.
going to the second line now. I thought we were doing line by line.
This is a close reading group.
We're just going to not pronounce the 3 names every time. And just
is it 12? How many pages is this book? 1,000 pages? I actually don't know because I've got a Kindle.
850, but it's like 1,000 chapters, unfortunately. So there's like 300 chapters in like part 1.
So we can't go line by line. We're an unserious book club.
Don't give Cam the idea of doing a line by line book club, because we'll be doing that for Infinite Jest for sure. He gets that in his head.
Yeah,
so
we'll really live up
be
to its
careful.
title.
So yeah, maybe just worth saying that it's set in like roughly, I think, 1870s Russia.
It's set in Russia.
Yeah,
Woody Allen joke. Yeah, I took a speed reading course on Tolstoy. It's about Russia.
It's about Russia.
Yeah.
It's about some families in Russia. And I guess, this is, still Tsarist Russia, I think. But like the serfs have been liberated, but there's still like big inequality in the society. So the serfs are now sort of what are called musics, I think, which are basically just peasants that do work and get paid, but they don't get paid very much, and they don't get paid enough to like rise through society. So society is still very much stratified between the aristocracy and the musics.
Tolstoy himself has to like release his serfs round about now, I think, and he's kind of in conflict about it because he's this he's this rich guy in the countryside. Excuse me.
You went for aristocratic, changed it to rich guy. This is why your lexical score is so low, man.
It's for the like Tolstoy and Levin. I see these peasants as my equals. I don't, unlike his brother, who sees them abstractly as a class. I see them as my people. I'm like one of them. But yeah, I think he was kind of in tension. Like he lived out in this manor and had all these peasants. And probably didn't feel that great about them, and then had to release them.
Yeah. The general idea is that the freeing of the serfs didn't go all that well for the serfs, right? Like it actually, in some cases, they were better off under serfdom, just in that like their incomes were not really enough to live on for working the land pretty often. So it was like a step in the right direction, but they didn't do it in a way that was like more, what would you call it? Like they didn't fully make them whole.
All right, so the book kicks off with Stepan and Dolly. Cam, you want to walk us through the beginning?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, it opens up, as Benny said, with Stepan, also known by his nickname Steva, from the Oblonsky family, and he has his wife Dolly, and she's one of the Schchchcherbatskys sisters, which we'll meet some of the other characters. And, right from the get-go, it opens out that Stepan's had an affair with his governess, and Dolly's super upset, threatening to leave him. She even calls him the, quote, terrible word, a stranger. But she's in conflict. She doesn't know whether to leave him or not. And Stepan himself, I don't know, he has an interesting take on it all. He doesn't feel super guilty, I think, on his actions. He's more focused on the fact he got caught. And keeps thinking about, I think, his reaction when he was confronted. He had this weird smile. So he doesn't seem all too guilty about it, but he's quite a likable guy as well. Like it seems like his sister Anna, everyone likes him. He treats people equally. Apparently, he reads the liberal newspaper because it suits his lifestyle. It says so. It starts right from the get-go, from the affair. I did wonder why. I mean, Tolstoy must have intentionally started with these guys, and I did wonder about posing that question of why we thought Tolstoy started with Stepan and Dolly.
I like that Stepan is the kind of guy that just loves to have opinions, but gets them totally uncritically from all the newspapers he reads. And this was pretty insightful, I think, by Tolstoy to like notice that this is a kind of person, like, you know, really likes to be up on the news and well read and, you know, conversant in the issues of the day, but is totally predictable when it comes to their politics. And, you know, whatever they think about issue X was talked about in newspaper Y yesterday in exactly the same language. And so like just not actually critically thinking at all, but just likes to be the kind of person who can show off that they know about what's going on, which is definitely a kind of person.
Maybe arguably the default. But yeah, apart from us bold free thinkers.
Bold, independent truth seekers.
Let me read the quote, because the way that he puts it is so nice. He says, he only changed his views when the majority changed them. Or more strictly speaking, he did not change them, but they imperceptibly changed of themselves within him, which I think is like a really nice way.
Yeah,
I mean,
nice.
it immediately makes you think of like all of the modern waves of like those, we've talked about this before, like there's those social reality is in a certain equilibrium and everyone is just in that equilibrium, and then it sort of shifts and everyone rushes for the exit and quickly moves into the new equilibrium, pretends that they always were. But it's not like, I don't think it's like a conscious, deliberate or dishonest thing. It's just like the way that humans are as social animals that live in this social reality. You don't figure everything out from first principles. You just sort of roughly mirror what everyone else is doing unconsciously. But yeah. I enjoyed that little passage too.
Tolstoy just needs another character who just imperceptibly goes the other way. So when everyone changes their mind, he changes to the opposite.
Yeah, I'm a reflexive contrarianism, which means I'm like retarded in the exact opposite direction.
But just have less friends.
yeah. Just find myself arguing with people a lot more often.
Yeah. Reflexive in a way that just makes you more socially unpopular. The worst.
So can I just ask a clarifying question before we go on? Did Stepan actually bang the governess, or was it just like something in this whole book is that the sex is kind of hidden if it is taking place? Did he just write her a bold letter or you know, like...
He sent her a sext.
Yeah. Sent her a ye olden dick pic. I don't know.
Because, I mean, we're thrown in the aftermath of them thinking back, even to the confrontation and the conversation about it. It sounded like it kind of been ongoing. I don't know how intimate it got. And yeah, Tolstoy certainly later on stays away from... It's not really smart. It's, you know, I sort of feel the book feels like it's building up to this could be 18th century smart, but, you know, better not look too closely on the sexual details.
Just 800 pages of edging. It's cruel.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so he's excited. Stepan is excited that his sister Anna is going to come to town because he anticipates that his sister can help relieve some of the tension and maybe help get his wife back on his good side. And so that's why he wants his sister to come to town. And that introduces us to Anna.
Yeah, just quickly, just to answer one of my questions around why Tolstoy started with these guys. I mean, I think it somewhat fits the theme, right? So, I mean, we get this opening line that we've talked about. Unhappy families are all different, and then we straight off have this affair. But, you know, it doesn't start off with Anna Karenina, what the book's named after. It doesn't start off with Levin, who the book maybe could have been named after. Probably wouldn't have sold quite as well. But, you know, it starts off with Stepan and Dolly. And I think one of the reasons, as well as the thematic reasons, is I think they're just, you know, a central part connected to all these other characters, right? So Stepan's the Oblonskys, and he's married to Dolly, and so she's part of these Schchchcherbatskys sisters, and so we get Kitty and Natalie and Prince and Princess, the mother and father. And then Stepan is brothers with Anna Karenina, who's married to Alexei, who Stepan knows, and that's how he got his job, and he's friendly with and he appreciates. And then Stepan's old childhood friend is this country bumpkin, Levin, who's, you know, crushing on the Schchchcherbatskys. But they're kind of, these two are kind of people that connect everyone, so we can kind of start with them and veer off into these different storylines. And with everybody else, it also allowed us to do that.
Yeah, that seems right. I think it also gives you a bit of an outsider's perspective on Anna and stuff. Like, he can introduce some of Anna's qualities to you as the as the reader without trying to do it like immediately from actually discussing her.
And I suppose contrast Anna with Dolly as well. And
yeah, true. All right, yeah, Rich, do you want to talk a bit about the introduction of Anna and Mr. Vronsky?
Yeah, so she comes down from Petersburg on the train. Wait, to Petersburg? From Petersburg.
To Moscow from Petersburg.
From Petersburg to Moscow. And she's in a carriage with this old lady who's bending her ear, who turns out to be the mother of Vronsky, Count Vronsky, who is going to be one of our central figures in our love triangle or love quadrangle. And when the train comes in at the station, Vronsky comes aboard to meet his mother and notices this woman who, interestingly, I think he describes as not even sort of arrestingly beautiful, but kind of just interesting looking and compelling. And there's sort of a flash of tension between them, and Anna realizes that this is the son who the older lady has been rabbiting on about the whole way down on the train. It's a fairly brief interaction, but there's sort of a spark of chemistry there. And just to some more context, Anna is a married woman. She's got an 8-year-old child, and yeah, she is not a single lady. Vronsky he is a sort of a foppish. He's in the army, but he's basically like an aristocrat who capers around and goes to dances and theatre productions and says ironic, witty things to his ironic, witty friends.
But seems generally liked, I would say, right? Like seems sociable. Seems like people like him.
Yeah. And a bit of a ladies' man, right?
He's very well spoken. Everyone gets along well with him. And I think I started falling for Anna's character almost immediately as well. You might think it's strange that people fall for one another in this book so quickly, but I actually didn't have that experience when I was reading the book, because something about the way that he writes these characters is so endearing. Like, I loved Stepan's character immediately, even though he's introduced as a philandering, somewhat shallow, glib person. But I just found him, I don't know, just very endearing and warm. And then the same thing happened with Anna, less so with Vronsky, but we can talk about him more later.
Alexei had me straight away as soon as I read about his ears and his reading habits.
I mean, I don't think it's too unrealistic. I mean, you meet someone, there often is sort of a spark of intrigue right away, right? And you may or may not follow up on it, or it may or may not fade as you get to know them more. But that does often happen, right? Like you meet someone, you meet a cute girl.
Don't always call it love though, right?
No, but you like develop a crush. Like there's obviously
sometimes you do.
Initial chemistry. But I don't think he called it love originally either. That's kind of my point, right? It took a little bit longer of them seeing each other at various events and balls and stuff before I think it actually culminates in something like love. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, developing a crush on someone from seeing them in the train station seems pretty realistic.
Yeah, it just sparks it. There's more to come. So let's get to the ball, right?
I guess, one other thing though, like, do you guys think, so they're at the train and it turns out that I guess as the train was coming to a stop, it ran over a worker or something. And then everyone's panicking. They run to the front to see what happened, find out this worker's been run over. His wife is around, who's now widowed, and Vronsky gives her like 200 rubles or something. And sort of does it ostensibly without the knowledge of everyone else in the party, but they kind of find out anyway. And I'm still unsure what to make of this scene.
Well, Anna says it's a bad omen as well.
What, that the guy got run over, or that Vronsky gave money?
That Vronsky's right. No, that the guy got run over. She felt not good about it, and I think literally said it's a bad omen.
So do you think it just foreshadows future tragedy in the book? Like maybe it's too early to say what that event meant, or maybe it meant nothing. But I'm a bit confused about what was going on there.
I took it as Vronsky like capitalizing on this tragedy to try and raise his esteem in the eyes of Anna and others. Like, even though he didn't do it totally overtly, I think he probably would have known. I mean, don't make me mention the word signaling.
Yes. Every book is about preference cascades and signaling. It's just like that thing when you're on the bus and there's like, a hot girl next to you and you're like, some old woman comes across and you stand up for her. You're like, sit here.
Let me get your bag.
Yeah, in front of Anna Karenina. Yeah, let me get your bag. Just praying the whole bus ride. Please, like there's something bad happening that I can. But yeah, definitely the bad omen is foreshadowing something. Some way that a family is going to get unhappy. Probably would be my guess.
Yeah, that's
in a different way to another family being unhappy.
Okay, so now let's introduce some of the characters that get us confused about or like get involved in some of the funky love situations that we've got going on throughout this book. So Dolly, who is Stepan's wife, who we mentioned earlier, has a sister, Kitty. Kitty is 18 at the beginning of the novel and is, I guess, at that ripe age where you're looking to get married, of course. A day over 19 would be too much. So she's looking to get married any day now.
Levin wouldn't be interested in you anymore. And the older sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this was something that confused me. Like, you guys kid, but remember when we get introduced to Stepan, and one of the reasons he gives for having his affair with the governess is he describes his wife, Dolly, in pretty unflattering terms, where he says, like, oh, now she's old and she's hit the wall. But not in so many words, but he's saying that she's kind of like not very physically attractive. And then when I found out that her sister, Kitty, was 18 and was this beautiful maiden, I was like, what the hell? I was imagining them as being like 40 or something. So, like, do Russian women hit the wall at age 23 or is Stepan like, I don't know. I was a bit confused by that.
This was before Turkish hair transplants and facelifts.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, they all had alopecia.
Levin, Stepan's mate, crushes on all the sisters, right? He was into Dolly back in the day, and then Dolly rejected him or went with someone else, and then he was into Natalia or Natalie, who isn't mentioned.
Oh wait, was he? I didn't realize that.
He's kind of moving.
Oh, that's
he's kind of moving on to each sister, and then Kitty's like,
I keep getting older, and the Blusky sisters stay the same age. All right.
And like this is a big deal because this is like the last one. This is like the last sister.
Yeah.
So,
no wonder he's so upset.
I know he's going to be deep despair if she doesn't choose him.
Okay, yeah. So we have these three sisters, the Schchchcherbatsky sisters: Kitty, youngest; Dolly, oldest. What's the middle one's name?
It doesn't matter. Natalie, I think.
She's not important, I don't think, or at least not yet.
She's a happy family. She's a happy family. They're all the same.
So Konstantin Levin, he's 32. So, Cam's age, I think. So he's, I guess has been in love with all these girls, but is now seriously in love with Kitty and wants to propose to her. He has a plan to propose to her. And Kitty's father likes Levin enough and wants her to say yes. But Kitty's mother is not a huge fan of Levin and wants Kitty to hold on for someone better, I guess, with more aristocratic ranking.
Yeah, Kitty's mum's like Rich, just been taken in by Count Vronsky, taken in by his charm. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry, you said you loved Anna.
And so Kitty, it sounds like she's known Levin for a long time, and she does sort of love him in some ways, or is at least very fond of him. But her heart is sort of set on marrying Vronsky, who we've already been introduced to, and her mother likes this match a lot more. So, all these families are just throwing balls all the time because that's what aristocrats do. I guess they have no work to do, so they just throw parties constantly. And Levin basically shows up to this party that the Schchchcherbatskys are throwing early, gets Kitty on her own, proposes, just throws himself out there, and she just shuts him down. Kind of ruthlessly. She tries to be as nice as possible about it, but he's like heartbroken. Vronsky shows up like in the middle of this encounter, basically. Like Kitty has shut him down. Vronsky then walks in the door. Levin's heartbroken and just wants to leave. And then Kitty basically can't help but like be nice and flirtatious with Vronsky because he's such a charming guy, like right in front of Levin, and Levin just wants to blow his brains out. And so I really felt bad for Levin here. Like this was brutal.
just sitting around politely making small talk with everyone, and like you've just had your deepest hopes dashed.
Oh man,
You just want to go home and crawl into bed, watch Netflix.
And he can't help but somewhat respecting Vronsky. He kind of sees the positive aspects that everyone else sees there, but he also kind of hates this motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he acts exactly like the section is written perfectly, and I can understand why people like Tolstoy's writing and also think that he's a good sociologist, because like there's just dynamics of everything that happens are pretty realistic. Like he has his back up, he's extremely annoyed, he's extremely short, but then this doesn't come across as him being like intriguingly defiant or anything to people around him. He just comes off as like sort of daft and like he's just grumpy and an asshole, which is exactly how it would go in real life. Right?
He's like that meme and the guy in the corner and everyone else is just dancing. Like, who's that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He just exactly. Yeah, he just proposed.
He's on the back foot and he's just defensive the whole time. And we with the God's eye view understand and sympathize, but like, for everyone else, he probably comes across as a bit cold or a bit of a jerk.
And he's generally like shy and easily embarrassed. I think he comes in as his country guy, and I think Stepan makes a joke about his clothes or something. He's you're wearing a European suit coming in, and he suddenly blushes, and that always comes over him, and he's always second guessing what he says. He'll say something to Kitty, and I think they got ice skating early on as well, and it's going quite well. They sort of have their own little spark, and I think she brushes or touches his arm, and he goes, "I like it when you lean on me," or something like that. And she kind of like stops.
He just blurts. He blurts.
Yeah. And he's like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have said
that." Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. He's just kicking himself.
And then it's like, it's like, no, just don't react like that. Saying it's fine.
Be cool. Be cool. I like it when you touch me.
Yeah. And he's like a baller skater, right? As well, he almost kind of gets it back. He's doing like twirls and stuff.
Yeah.
So something we should say here is that we made it seem as if Kitty just rejected him out of hand, but no, I think they legit were on track to be a couple. I think it had been bumpy, but like things were moving in that direction. This was not like a crazy move on his part. And then Vronsky was the new element that just upset the apple cart. But I think, absent Vronsky, I reckon Levin would have been in with a grin.
Yeah, and even with Vronsky, like, so Levin, when he proposes, she rejects him. But it's even written like she is filled with like warmth and light when he like she feels sort of in love with, loved by, and then ultimately, he's got her mother on one shoulder and her father on the other shoulder. So her mother really wants her to go with Vronsky. The father's like, no, I see through Vronsky.
Yeah, I don't know if they were on track, but certainly it wouldn't have been totally unexpected. Like Stepan realizes sort of that this is probably why Levin's coming into town in the first place to propose to her. He doesn't seem totally caught off guard by it. He's sort of awkwardly in this position where he does know about Vronsky as well, so he's like not sure quite what to say. But yeah, I agree. Levin seems like sort of one of the natural choices of people. Kitty
Stepan gives them a 50-50 each, right? And he's kind of the neutral observer. I mean, I don't know if that's what he actually thinks, but that's what he.
It seems like that.
That's
though,
how
he's kind of like, could go
either way.
Like,
yeah. He's basically like, shoot, bro.
Yeah, he's like, get in there, do it. They're throwing a party tonight. Show up early.
Yeah.
Ask her.
Even when he's rejected, right? He's still kind of like, keep shooting your shot, man. Like, he's really optimistic about it. Stepan's like,
I mean, I really like Levin. I gotta say, I don't know how we're supposed to feel as the reader towards him exactly, but I can't help really liking him. He's like, I kind of like that he's socially awkward, but he feels quite earnest. He feels like a little alienated from modern society, and like he lives in the countryside, and I think there is a bit of a rural urban split dynamic that Tolstoy is creating here, and like he can't quite understand why everyone loves living in the city, and then the people that live in the city sort of look down on him a bit for like being a country bumpkin, although bumpkin's the wrong word because he's got like a massive estate.
He's an aristocrat.
Many servants and horses and stuff, but he definitely views life, I think, a little differently from the rest of them, and seems a bit more preoccupied with life's bigger questions, maybe, of trying to figure out like how to live well, what it means to live a good life, the ethics of like treating his servants certain ways, and how he should own land and stuff. And then when he gets shut down, by Kitty, he sort of resolves to just go back and live a very simple life and actually get rid of a lot of his possessions.
Just go touch grass every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Touch grass. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this is all just background on Levin, who I'm really liking.
When he comes in to the city, he even notices, like, I think some other one of Stepan's friends has like long nails or something. It sort of gives him the creeps, which that I think just probably could give you the creeps anyway. But he kind of thinks, well, this person's like not using his hands for work and stuff. Like, how can you have long nails as this aristocrat rather than needing it for work and stuff? And he's somewhat disgusted by it. So Tolstoy's definitely setting that up. And like, I mean, for context, like Tolstoy himself lived out in the country, and he was a rich aristocrat. But I think Levin is probably partly based on him. I think Tolstoy had, I think so. I mean, I don't know Tolstoy's biography too closely, but I know near the end of his life, he started getting really into this sort of Levin's. I think part of Levin's philosophy of being in touch with your work and manual labor. I think Tolstoy became a bit of a Georgist, by the way, near the end of it as well. Once he lost all his serfs, maybe. So
did this outdoorsman this countryside scene charm you, Cam, in particular? Because I know that you generally don't like this kind of thing, but I love this section where he's
really
roaming around his farm, thinking about crop rotation and talking to his various his handlers and his peasants, and riding through the forest and just living that bucolic rural existence, even though it's somewhat lonely and isolating. He just has like one of his servants as his main companion. But I loved it. I thought it was a beautiful passage, and it made me it gave me nostalgia for living in the country. Shooting, going out shooting with the birds and the dogs and riding horses. And it's very romantic, I think.
Yeah, sure. I imagine these sections are a bit polarizing amongst readers in terms of, I think I'm more drawn to the drama of the Anna Karenina arc, where it's kind of cinematic and just drama every second, and then it's an interesting juxtaposition. And then you go to Levin, he's kind of moping out in the country about his lost love and his relationship to work.
But he just buries himself in work, right? He's a very practical man, and that's his form of moping. It's not that he just shuts himself up. He sort of really actively gets out on the farm and tries to put in all, give it his absolute best, and also thinks harder about how what next steps he could take to make his peasants' lives better, and things like that.
These sections, Tolstoy is sneaking a bit of, is perhaps a bit more didactic than the Anna Karenina sections, and sneaks a bit more philosophy into it. So Levin's having discussions with his brother and his half brother, actually. So his half brother, Koznishev or something, he is a philosopher, and he has all these abstract ideas, and I think it gets contrasted with Levin's kind of more practical side of things. So my understanding of Levin, to contrast with his half brother, who I think is very positive towards the peasants, for the greater good, and for these zemstos or whatever, these council estates, which I think have been recently. I was half expecting Benny you to give us a this table of ranks and the 1830s, and then the zemstos. We have these city council things that have been formed by Alexander II, as well as freeing the serfs. But Levin seems to be, his philosophy is more about, it's what gives you happiness. Like, work for him gives him happiness, and that's why he goes and does it. And he doesn't like the zemstos, the councils. I think partly because he doesn't enjoy them. He also says they're corrupt and stuff.
Yeah, he's a very sort of high-minded, critical person. He's critical of everyone, the institutions, the people, the councils, and of himself as well. And I think this is why, I love Levin as in maybe a narcissistic way, because he reminds me of myself the most by far in this book, because he's like, he's a serious man, and he's quite earnest and critical in a way that I think makes it hard for him to get on with people sometimes, or he feels like a fish out of water. And you can imagine like could be quite hard to get on with sometimes. He won't necessarily easily go along with what everyone else is doing. And maybe he's not the best company. Like you can see him being grumpy. He's grumpy when he's hanging out with Stepan quite often, and he has to be sort of left alone to come out of his funk. But yeah, I love him, and I relate to him really strongly. So I'm like pretty invested in his arc at this point.
Okay, let's go back to Vronsky though. So let's go back to this ball. So Kitty has refused the hand of our dear Levin, and so yeah, she's endeared towards him in some way, but her heart is much more set on Vronsky, and she seems like genuinely sort of excited about marrying Vronsky. And from her perspective, this all seems in place now. She said no to Levin. She expects Vronsky to now basically court her and marry her.
She's so excited that she goes, Anna, you should come to the ball. Come to the ball. Yeah. I'm so excited about this ball.
I missed that. Did she was the reason that Anna was there?
Yeah, well, like everyone, she loves Anna. Like everyone's taken in by Anna. As Richard said, himself was taken in by page one, and Kitty is just in love with Anna as well. She's so amazing. And
all the kids love her. Like she just has an energy that she exudes. I think that people are very drawn to.
But she convinces her to come to the ball.
So they throw this ball. I guess this ball is later in the week after the earlier ball where Levin proposed to her, right? This must be a separate event, I'm assuming. And so anyway, so whatever happens, basically you get Vronsky, Kitty, and Anna all at this ball, and Vronsky basically just cold shoulders Kitty the whole time. Maybe dances one or two songs with her, but like the main sort of, I guess, romantic dance that is sort of understood between couples. The mazurka, there we go. Yeah,
which I'm imagining is like the sexiest dance you can get in old-fashioned fusty ballroom dancing. So maybe they like touch each other's waist or something.
No, I think it's like an upbeat Polish dance. Yeah, it's just sort of finish the night on,
like doing the can or something.
Yeah,
and so Kitty is hoping that Vronsky's going to ask her to dance the mazurka.
She's not hoping. She's like, she just assumes that's what's going to happen.
That's true.
Yeah. And she rejects all the other suitors who are asking her because she's like, well, no, because obviously it's going to be with Vronsky.
Yeah, that's a good detail. So all these other men are asking her to dance. She keeps saying no. And then meanwhile, Vronsky's just totally taken in by Anna, and they're sort of, you can see them get more and more interested in each other over the course of the ball. And then he asks her to dance, and they dance together. And I think at this point, there's nothing technically socially inappropriate going on, but this basically is heartbreaking for Kitty. And
Kitty can see it as well. I think she can see it in their eyes. She's like, the way they're like looking at each other. She knows. Yeah.
Other people notice too that this is like, it's all technically within the bounds of normal behavior, but it's like you can it's a very slight transgression perhaps, and enough so that like it's very public. It's publicly marking out that there is some kind of connection between these two.
Yeah.
Between this married woman and this guy who's supposedly courting another girl.
Which is true. Like you can see that in people, right? So in a work context or a friend group or something, people just hanging out lots, opposite sex often. And sometimes you can see the chemistry growing and people notice it. They're like, just the way the body language is interacting with each other and the way they're looking at each other, people kind of get this vibe often that, they haven't done anything. Everyone's, we're just going bowling. It's all as a group, but you can kind of see it's like, the way they're talking to each other.
Oh man, I went on a date recently bowling and I was so bad at it. It was so bad. I'm sure I gave her the ick right then and there. I hadn't been bowling in like a decade, man. Like I couldn't, oh my God. Bowling's hard. To be
put
good.
The gutter guards up.
Exactly. I need some gutter. Needed that little machine that you like just set the ball on top and let it roll down. Yeah. Get the angle right. Oh, halfway through, I was like, kill me now. This is
Was she good at bowling?
she wasn't that good. It was fine. I get it laughing about that stuff, but who knows what she was thinking. Like, who is this moron?
I'm always stuck in this conflict of wanting to choose a lighter ball, but like you don't want to choose the same weight
as the girl. Yeah,
exactly. The girl, you know. So no, we need the heavy ball.
Like, what size is your hand? I think you should go down on
it. Yeah. Surely this won't fit you.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. So this basically breaks Kitty's heart, and she actually gets ill because of this. She falls ill, and then her family basically has to go on vacation to Germany because that's the only thing the doctors can think of, I guess, to do with her.
This seems to be like the common like medical cure of the age is like you have to go take the waters in foreign lands or something.
Go to a spa,
basically just means go on holiday and go to a spa.
I know, I got so confused in that section because I just thought they were on holiday, right? It's like German spa, and then I realized like everybody's ill at this spa, you know, everyone's sick, and I was like, oh, okay, then that's why Kitty's there. It's because she's sick. And are we meant to think she's sick because she's heartbroken, potentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or there was a sort of a mention of no, I don't know actually, tuberculosis.
I wasn't sure if it was as well.
Definitely it's connected anyway. And again, this is like a common thing amongst aristocratic classes of this time and of other societies throughout history, is like, especially amongst women that we've mentioned before, like neurasthenia and things like that, where you have this like very strong psychosomatic illness basically. But Kitty is devastated. And I think we just have to like infer from this, we kind of like work backwards to figure out what the social norms of the day is and to figure out, oh, this is actually really scandalous and upsetting. And in fact, the text does say Vronsky didn't know that his behavior in relation to Kitty had a definite character, that is courting young girls with no intention of marriage, and that such courting is one of the evil actions common amongst brilliant young men such as he was. So actually we do get a textual, like, straight up condemnation of what he's doing, which also is funny because this is like a point that I continue to think is underrated today, that in my, growing boomer conservatism is like, I get mad about men dating young women indefinitely without any intentions towards them. I think it's actually like quite a cruel thing to do.
He's kind of the main player, right, in town, and he's I always imagine as some famous guy, he can get with any girl he wants, right, and he's not really serious about her, and he's sort of it's, as you say, it's definitely like a type of guy that still exists, that enjoys their company, like genuinely, but is ultimately non-serious.
There was another interesting little thing in Kitty's reaction that I think you touched on earlier before, Cam, how when Levin was proposing to her, she was filled with joy and she loved that, even though she wasn't going to accept the offer. And I think she really loves the idea of being in love. And then there's another quote I saw where she said, "For me to live with him now would be torture, just because I love my past love for him," which again is like a really nice little keen psychological insight into how people work, especially maybe a young woman of that class where you're kind of like fetishizing the love itself. It reminds me of the Baudrillard stuff where the love has become the sign instead of the real thing. And like the sign is now more powerful than the original referent, or it's more like desirable than the original referent. And it's a classic mistake that people make that I think Kitty is perhaps making, but is also like hard to avoid when it's been hyped up so much to be this thing. So, and of course everyone wants to be in love, right? It's very understandable. It's a natural motive.
Yeah. I mean, and we should say it seems apparent that Kitty very quickly regrets her decision. I think she realizes that she's sort of made this mistake and that she's cast aside this guy who did indeed love her and she could have had this happy life with. And put all their eggs in Vronsky's basket, and now he's totally forgotten her.
She's still in denial about that as well, because I think she sees Levin's brother or something out on that resort as well, and she has kind of a angry disgust reaction when she sees a member of the Levin family, but she's still feeling shit about it all.
Which is unfair to our Levin, right? Because his brother does seem like a slightly odious character.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's sort of the end of the Moscow line, and then Anna had come in from Moscow, Vronsky also, or had come in from St. Petersburg, sorry, to Moscow, and then they all sort of go back after this ball's over, and that's when we actually meet Anna's wife. So now we're in part 2.
Anna's husband.
Or sorry, Anna's husband. Yeah, that would be a twist.
You find out Benny's been reading the fan fiction.
Yeah.
Anna's definitely bisexual coded.
Yeah. Hot.
You're just projecting your love on her.
Yeah. We get to meet her husband, Alexei Alexandrovich Karenin, I guess you'd say. And he is like this very dry, sardonic bureaucrat who always speaks to Anna a little bit condescendingly and disparagingly, and is like obsessed with his position within the court, with winning the favor of bureaucrats who have a slightly higher station than him, and how he's perceived and all this kind of thing. His legacy and his social position, I would say. And he has this quite fairly cold relationship with his wife, which is evident right away, even before she starts properly falling out of love with him and cheating on him. But basically, immediately, Vronsky follows Anna back up to Petersburg, and they just start seeing each other at every opportunity, hanging out at every opportunity, and it just becomes really obvious to everyone what's going on. But Alexei Alexandrovich is just totally in denial about it. So they have one conversation about it where he says, "Don't embarrass me," basically. Whatever you're doing, maybe I'm wrong and it's not improper, but it has the appearance of being something improper. So make sure that it doesn't have that appearance. He's not giving her the blessing. He's definitely turning a blind eye to being cucked, 100%.
Yeah.
So really interesting. I wouldn't have expected it to go that way necessarily, but it's because I don't know, I'd be interested if you guys have a view on this, but I think he's just like such a career man, and so his goals are just so removed from like domesticity and love and things like that he just can't let himself even feel the feelings that he ought to be feeling. Because I even think there's a hint in here that if he'd been more onto it and had been able to connect better with Anna, he could have possibly reconciled their relationship. Because they have a child together. She does see good attributes in him. She does still have moments of affection for him. It's not totally doomed, but they both play a role, but he makes it so in particular by just freezing her out and not questioning what's going wrong, not trying to figure it out, and just sort of, it's like too painful for him, or he's too distracted. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I thought she got the ick from him pretty quickly when she met Vronsky, but
those sticky outy ears. I'm imagining like Shrek ears, like little...
Yeah. It's the first thing she noticed when she got back. And you just imagine Vronsky must be this young, dashing military officer, right? Alexei is probably older. But yeah, he's in deep denial about it because he's really concerned around his status and how people's perceived, and he explicitly says that to her. They keep talking about impropriety is the word that the translator uses. But he also just doesn't want to think about what the possibility could be, which implies, well, he does actually care about it more so than just the impropriety, I think. He just doesn't want to deal with the possibility of it. And he's got all these mechanisms. He buries himself with work, or whenever he starts to meet her as well, because it sounds like every summer or winter or whatever she stays at the second house and he visits her a week, but he wants someone else to be there as well, because so that will avoid awkward conversations, or he wants to avoid people who will talk about her, or I think one of his other friends, Count Lydia or something, like she's saying how improper it all is, and so he stops hanging out with her, like is one of his mechanisms to just not deal with it.
Yeah, when people ask, like, how's your wife, he gets offended and tries to change the subject.
Yeah.
Even something that could be and probably is totally innocuous. He's that shielded off from it that he prefers to just avoid it altogether. And he also gets alienated from his son, which is really sad, because he's got an 8-year-old son who's already on uncertain terms with, and then he sees the son as like an extension of the mother somehow and doesn't know how to treat him, and becomes like quite aloof and ironically detached with the son as well. And this little son is so confused because he doesn't know who this Vronsky guy is. He's like, who is this man who keeps coming to see my mother? And he can pick up on the vibe that people think something's weird, but no one ever is saying anything out loud about it. And it's all just within the bounds of plausible deniability. There's never an open, direct transgression or acknowledgement. It's just like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, it feels like the ultimate mode of motivated reasoning, where he's just like, my sense is he kind of realizes he's pushed her away with his actions, and just he sort of expected her to be dutiful because that's how he views relationships. It's just like two people doing their duty to one another. Well, love is sort of outside the realm of his thought. And I think he sort of realizes this, but just then doesn't even let his mind go there. I forget the actual phrase Tolstoy uses, but he's got a couple nice instances of like, his mind started to wander in the direction of like feeling guilty or wondering how this had happened or wondering what he should do about it. And then, somehow he just closes down his thoughts and starts focusing on work and like, doesn't even let himself go there basically, which I thought was interesting. I mean, the term motivated reasoning wouldn't have existed when Tolstoy was writing. So that is sort of another keen insight that he had into people's psyches. Another interesting bit here was that he says to himself at one point, I had always wondered how other men would find themselves in the position. How would they let this happen to them, such that their wives would be cheating on them? And like, now it's happening to me. And I can imagine that, I mean, like, none of us would have had this experience, but like I can imagine that would be the reaction when you've been married for 10 plus years and all of a sudden you're in these like deep marital troubles. I can imagine you just feel like, how did this happen? Like, how did things go this far? And like, there would be this temptation to just tell yourself like, okay, this isn't happening, or like, if I just act like it's not happening, it won't be happening. And so like, my sense is this is probably a pretty realistic reaction in some way, given his personality. But I couldn't totally tell because these are kind of foreign waters for, an unmarried fellow like me. But
I'll tell you in 10 years.
yeah, exactly.
You're the Count Vronsky, Benny. Eh? But well, one thing you said earlier.
That's not.
One thing you said earlier is that Alexei is a man of duty, and I think that is one of the tensions or contrasts maybe that Tolstoy is setting up of this kind of this deep, love, emotions, feelings, sort of fiery feelings versus this kind of duty to marriage, and perhaps needing both, not being able to have one without the other is a thing to think about. It is interesting to think how their marriage would have been before Vronsky came along, if it was, one of Tolstoy's unhappy families already, or perhaps that they were fine and it was working. It's weird that Anna's just so amazing. She's like, seems like the catch of, the two cities, and Alexei is, he's obviously smart and kind and respected, but he does seem boring, and it is an odd match, somewhat.
We should also just emphasize, maybe for the listener, we sort of skipped over it, but like once they come back to St. Petersburg, there's this informal relationship that develops between Anna and Vronsky where, they spend a bunch of time together, both in private, but also in public. Like Rich, you were saying earlier, where like in balls and its social settings, they'll have conversations in the corner. And, at this point, it does start getting very noticeable. People are realizing, like, why are they spending so much time together? Anna's husband, Alexei, will show up to these parties, and then they'll basically ignore him to keep talking to each other. And then,
Yeah, I found that scene so awkward.
I know, it was horrible, but so well written.
And everyone's just noticing, and he doesn't notice, right? So like everyone's just there, and everyone's just gossiping. It's what they do, and they're off in the corner, talking, and everyone just starts gossiping about them, and they notice, and Alexei's totally oblivious. But then Alexei like realizes when they get home that other people were noticing, and that's kind of what he's initially concerned
That's
about.
the step too far for him.
Yeah. He kind of wants to nip that in the bud. But I liked how Tolstoy set up around these different social cliques, right? I think he described there's like 2 or 3 different types. There was kind of the boring, less flashy, less good looking group. I think he even mentioned that Anna initially preferred hanging out with them, but then there's these young flashy types that Betsy is this main character, is Vronsky's cousin, and then suddenly Anna wants to always hang out with this group because Vronsky's good. But just that dynamic when there's just someone you want to see, and you're going to all these events, and when people ask you about it, you kind of have this plausible deniability reason, but it's just to obviously see Vronsky all the time.
So again, did you guys clock that they were actually boning? Because when we get to the revelation that Anna's pregnant and the implication that it's Vronsky's, I was so surprised that I was trying to like reread the text to see if I was confused, because I thought they were just sort of carrying on this improper but non-consummated relationship. I didn't even realize that we were meant to infer that they were in fact having sex. So I kind of got really like whiplashed by that. Did you guys see that coming?
I was the same way. I didn't see it coming at all. And in fact, even when I read that she was pregnant, I wasn't sure as the reader what was happening. Like, I wasn't sure if it was definitely Vronsky's or if she was just pregnant from Alexei again, and now this was going to cause big problems because she's like having another kid with this man she doesn't love. And I'm pretty sure now we're supposed to infer as the reader that it is Vronsky's, that they've been sleeping together, and like she's now pregnant with Vronsky's child. But that took me a while to piece together. Like, I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, I was totally caught off guard by the whole
I think there's one section that kind of implies it. I don't have it on hand, but it's not stated. But there's like it ends with them, and then it kind of it's almost like ... and then it kind of like
dot.
Fade to
and
black.
then it goes to the next section. Yeah, kind of like a fade to black implied one.
Yeah. So maybe let's just wrap up their storyline here. So Vronsky's racing in a horse race with his favorite horse named Frou Frou. A gladiator's the horse he's racing against, and he visits Anna right beforehand. Anna tells him she's pregnant. He encourages her, I think, to leave Alexei at that point, right? He sort of says like, I love you and we should be together. Fuck this guy. And she's much more torn than him, mostly because of her kid, which is again another very realistic concern. She doesn't want her kid to hate her, basically. And so they leave. They promise to see each other that evening, presumably to do some more boning, which we now realize is what's happening. And Vronsky goes for the race, and breaks his horse's back.
Like, everyone's falling off their horse, right, in this race.
It's crazy. Yeah, these races seem nuts. So I don't know how long the course is, but it seems like there's 17 horses. They're jumping through, over all these hurdles and stuff.
And the whole crowd's like gasping every time someone crashes, and then like Vronsky crashes, and then Anna's like, "Oh my god!" She's not looking at anybody else.
Yeah,
this race scene is incredible. By the way, this is my favorite scene in the book so far. It's like a thriller, the way that it's told, the way that both the lead up to it, where Vronsky's really nervous and he's going to visit the hostler and getting tips, and then the race itself, like the blow by blow account of him versus his rival. And each obstacle as it comes up, and how much is at stake, because they're apparently really dangerous jumps to be doing, like jumping over barriers which have a ditch on the other side, and the horse will just break its legs and die if it catches it wrong. And it is a wonderful scene, and then devastating when he's finally pulled ahead and he's at the finish line, he's going to make it, and he starts really thrashing Frou Frou on, whereas before he'd listened to his handler's advice to sort of let her go at her own pace. And he bounces in the saddle in a weird way and comes down in a funny way and breaks the spine of his beautiful Frou Frou. It's really sad. Like I again, like Tolstoy made me love this horse within the space of this scene. This character of a fucking horse that like arises and falls. I was so upset by it.
And I was cheering for Vronsky. I don't know about you guys, but like I was totally on his side. I wanted him to win. I was getting nervous reading it. Like, oh no, is something going to go wrong?
Well, we've been humanizing Vronsky throughout these last chapters, where before, like you probably, I mean, I sort of was a bit hostile towards him, I guess, because Levin's my main boy and I feel sorry for Kitty. But the more time you spend with him, you see that this time he's not being a cad, you know, like he loves Anna, and he's like, this is a lasting thing, and he's crazy about her. And it's like, I don't know, there's something very sympathetic and romantic about that. And he is in a terrible bind because he's in love with a married woman. And but the reason that the race is so good for me is that, like, I assume like he ruins this beautiful female young creature by his ego and greed and so on. And it's just like a very direct parallel to, I wasn't sure, either Kitty or Anna, or maybe both, that he's just like destroyed this innocent, beautiful creature through his own desire.
And he's fine. He's back up, mate. Don't worry about it.
He wishes that he got injured, but he just walks away. He walks away and they shoot the horse dead. I just read one little line. He stood staggering alone on the muddy, motionless ground, and Frou Frou lay gasping before him, bending her head back and gazing at him with her exquisite eyes. Ah, groaned Vronsky, clutching at his head. Ah, what have I done? He cried. The race lost, and my fault, shameful, unpardonable, and the poor darling, ruined mare. What have I done? He feels shame, which is the correct emotion to feel in the context of this race, the animal's death. He doesn't feel the same shame for Kitty, and it's unclear whether he feels it for Anna. But like, this is the parallel, right? Like, this is he's Nice. Anyway, I love that scene. I love that scene so much.
During the race scene as well, in the crowd, I was feeling bad for Alexei as well. I love the way Tolstoy set it up. This is a moment where Alexei kind of puts his foot down in kind of an indirect way, I suppose, where he kind of realizes what's going on. He's saying, no, I think you should come with me. But even before they go there, it's just the way they're dealing with it. Everything's just through indirect. It's not, none of it's common knowledge, but it's kind of shared knowledge that people know what's going on, and it's all kind of euphemistic. And like he comes to see her and he goes, well, why don't we go together? And she's like, well, I want to go with Betsy. And he's pushing back at that, but always in this indirect way. And same for when they're in the crowd and she's watching him, and he says, are you okay? Or when kind of knows why.
Yeah, there's plausible deniability until the end, right? Where he's saying to himself, oh, it's a thrilling race and lots of people are being injured, and it's not unusual that she should be gasping and shocked when Vronsky gets thrown off of his horse. You know, like he's trying to justify it to himself right up until the minute that, like, and Anna, to be clear here, is in shock up in the stands. She's like crying. She's crying openly in the stands, watching Vronsky through the opera glasses, and is saying, like, refusing to go home with Alexei, and it's just couldn't be more obvious.
Yeah, but just that dynamic of how hard it can be sometimes to say something explicitly, and people are like passive aggressive about things, and like everyone knows like the kind of subtext for like why you're annoyed and you're coming through annoyed, but like it's still just so hard to kind of call the person out and for the other person to say, I know what this is about as well, and call it out, which Anna eventually does, and she comes clean and says, I love him.
Yeah. So we should just spell that out. Like eventually, so Alexei's telling her that, we should go home now. You should come with me. This is after Vronsky has crashed and she's refusing. And, finally the third or fourth time he basically puts his foot down and makes her go with him. So they leave, and then in the carriage ride on the way back, she basically just tells him that, yeah, I'm in love with Vronsky. I hate you. I don't love you. I love him. And it's pretty intense. Something like that. It's an intense. It's an intense.
No, she
scene.
says,
then,
"I hate you."
Yeah, I think And Alexei, I mean, to his credit, he doesn't. It's not like he
remains calm. Yeah. I hear you.
I hear. Yeah.
I don't think it is to his credit, though. I think this is his whole pathology. That when his wife says, "I love another man and I hate you," he can't even summon up any passion, or at least he has to control it because he's so obsessed with propriety. And instead, he just stares into the mid distance for 5 minutes or something, and then says with a slightly trembling voice, "Right, let's just keep up appearances until we can, make sort this out properly," and so on. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know if that's admirable. I mean, I guess it kind of is in the moment.
It's more admirable than hitting her, or something, right? Like, you can imagine a lot of guys in that scenario do something less than kosher. But I agree. I mean, you'd think if you at all loved this person, you'd fight for her. This is the moment, right? Like, you gotta, I mean, you've already, many moments have passed where you could have done that. But this is the final moment where you can possibly, at least try and get your foot in the door a bit.
Well, I think it's also just a bit tragic, right? Like, it's sort of outside of his control. This is sort of his personality. He's this type of guy described well by Tolstoy, and he doesn't really know how to keep her, but he feels strongly about the duty. I suppose you can contrast it to, I'm just now thinking about Dolly and Stepan's relationship, and she finds out, and she's tormented by it. But I mean, she confronts him early on. She's also in this decision of, do I leave him and leave the family, or do I stay with him? And kind of forgive him, which she ultimately, what she's done so far, and she's uneasy about it. She talks around. She constantly is a little bit nervous or anxious around when he goes out and stuff. But ultimately, she wants to stick with the family and stay together as husband and wife. And Alexei seems to be making a similar decision. I suppose he kind of knows it's happening, but he wants to sort of make it work and stick with it. He's tormented by it. He's not just okay with it. He's not in the hotel chair in the corner, but he wants to make it work. But he's
wait, hold on. I didn't read that as wanting to make it work. I read it as we're getting divorced, but let's just keep up a good face in public until we can sort out our affairs. I don't think he's trying to save the relationship.
No, I think
he knows it's over.
Point, yeah.
And that's the whole contrast with Vronsky. It's like, he's just not the type of guy to be impassioned about things, and that's like a big turnoff. Imagine Vronsky in this same scenario, like he would fight, or he would be wearing his heart on his sleeve the whole time. So it's just like it sums up his character and how they've gotten so cold and isolated from each other that he can't even get mad in the moment that he finds out he has in fact been cucked. Although I guess he also sort of knew it. He knew it on some level all along. So he just can no longer compartmentalize. It was such a good pressure release valve. Like this dancing around that you were talking about, Cam, where everyone is just perfectly skirting around saying the thing that they all know. It's very artful, but it also could wear on you after a while, and it was quite a release. It was quite a relief for Anna to just say, "I love Vronsky, I hate you," and just sort of let's just put it out there. Let's just see what happens from here, rather than just continuing to artfully dance around it indefinitely. So I'm excited about where things go from here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Tolstoy really does a good job of not prolonging certain elements of the novel, right? You could imagine another writer gets sort of too infatuated with the world they've built and just wants to linger in some of this uncertainty and social awkwardness and stuff. And arguably Dostoevsky had some of those elements where you just get so much mental anguish on who's the main character in Crime and Punishment?
Raskolnikov.
Raskolnikov's head, right? Like, arguably, you spend too long there, and I haven't gotten that sense from Tolstoy at all yet in this book. Like, he keeps the plot moving, things happen sort of right on time. There's been no parts where I've been like, okay, this is getting really dry. Like, I understand what's going on in this scene. I understand the social dynamics. Like, let's move on. He's moving things apace.
Next time I'm reading the gardening sections with Levin, I'll think of you guys.
Yeah.
Being in bliss.
Yeah, that can't go
Cam,
fast enough for Cam.
This is an easy read, right? Not easy, but like by comparison to other stuff that we read, this one's really moving along. It's like you can read it without. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it and not finding it like a struggle at all. Put it that way.
I mean, I suppose that's why people say he's a great writer, right? Because it's so old and it moves along well. It's interesting that because I think we're all reading Pevere and Volokonsky translation, which I struggled with Dostoevsky, and now I'm sort of wondering why. And when I read commentary around them as translators, I think they try to capture the style of the writer and keep it, for better or worse. They don't sort of clean it up if there's translation issues into English. But I just thought, their version was so clunky for Dostoevsky, and I preferred more modern translations. Theirs is fairly modern, it's the 1990s, but it reads perfectly fine in this Tolstoy. And I just wondered, maybe that's just because Tolstoy was a kind of an easier writer to read, which I think fits my understanding of them.
Yeah, I think that says way more about the writers than about the translators. Yeah.
All right, well, come join us for next time. I think we'll probably do parts 3 through 5, but that's a bit up in the air depending on scheduling and stuff. So,
and what happens in the book, right? Like, who knows how much stuff there'll be to talk about, but
totally,
it's a good start.
All right, until next time, fellas.
Cool. See you next week.